You're holding your newborn, maybe 3 weeks old, and they lock eyes with you, completely still, not blinking, just staring deep into your face, like they're reading something you can't see. It lasts 5 seconds, 10. You look away first. Most parents laugh it off. They must be zoning out. But developmental scientists say something completely different is happening in that moment. That unblinking stare is one of the most cognitively active things your baby will ever do. And what they're actually processing, it will change how you look at them forever. Almost every parent has experienced it, and almost none of them know what it means. That long, locked, unblinking gaze, sometimes at your face, sometimes at a patch of light on the wall, sometimes at a complete stranger across a room. It looks passive. It looks like nothing is happening. That is exactly backwards from the truth. In this video, we're going to cover 4 things: what most people assume is happening during the baby stare and why they're wrong, what developmental psychology actually says about this behavior, what the neuroscience reveals about what the brain is doing in real time during a stare, and what you should do and stop doing when your baby locks eyes with you. By the end, you'll see that unblinking gaze completely differently. Let's start with the obvious explanation, the one that sounds right but isn't. 1. The obvious explanation. The most common assumption parents make about the baby stare is that it's passive. The baby is zoning out. Their vision is still developing. They're not quite focused. They're spacing out the way adults do when they're tired or daydreaming. It looks vacant. It looks like nothing is happening behind those eyes. And that makes sense, because babies can't talk, can't gesture, can't tell us what they're thinking. So we fill the silence with the simplest explanation: probably nothing. The second common assumption is that it's random. Babies haven't developed attention yet, so they just land on things by chance. Your face happened to be in their line of sight. The ceiling fan was moving. The light was bright. It's not meaningful. It's just where their eyes ended up. Both of those assumptions feel reasonable. Both of them are completely wrong. And the reason we know they're wrong is because of what happens when you take the stare apart in a lab. When developmental researchers started tracking exactly what babies stare at, for how long, and what changes in their brain while they're doing it, they found something that nobody expected. The stare is not random. It is not passive, and it is not empty. It is one of the most targeted, purposeful, information-hungry behaviors in early human development. But here's what developmental researchers found when they actually studied this behavior in a lab, and it flipped every assumption about infant attention completely upside down. 2. The deeper psychology. Developmental psychologists discovered something about infant attention that changed how we understand early learning entirely. Babies are not passive receivers of the world around them. From the very first days of life, they are active seekers of specific kinds of information. And the thing they are seeking most urgently, most hungrily, is faces. The human face is the most cognitively stimulating object a baby will encounter in their entire first year of life. More stimulating than toys, more stimulating than movement, more stimulating than color or sound or novelty. The face of a caregiver, specifically the face of someone who matters to them, is the richest source of information their developing brain has access to. And when a baby locks into that stare, they are not zoning out. They are downloading. Here is the psychological concept that explains it: joint attention and social referencing. Even in the first weeks of life, before babies can speak or gesture or point, they are reading faces for information about the world. They are looking at your expression to understand whether a situation is safe or dangerous, warm or cold, interesting or threatening. Every micro-expression you make, every slight change in your eyes, every shift in your mouth, the baby is processing all of it, at a speed and depth of analysis that would exhaust an adult. Psychologist Andrew Meltzoff, one of the world's leading researchers on infant cognition, describes newborns as born scientists, not blank slates being passively filled, but active hypothesis testers constantly gathering evidence about their environment. The stare is the primary research tool, and the face is the primary data source. But the neuroscience goes even deeper. 4. What to watch for as a parent. Firm. Here is what the research says, and what most parents get wrong. When a baby locks eyes with you, the most natural response is to look away. It feels intense, a little eerie. But every time you break that gaze, you are walking away from one of the richest developmental moments of early infancy. Research shows that babies whose caregivers consistently hold eye contact develop faster in 3 areas: language, emotional regulation, and social cognition. The stare is not just data collection. It is a question. Are you there? Do you see me? When you hold the gaze and respond with warmth, you send a signal straight into their nervous system. You are seen. You are safe. The world responds to you. First, notice your instinct to look away and resist it. Hold the gaze. Raise your eyebrows, smile softly, animate your face. Talk to them. Not because they understand your words, but because your voice and face together give their brain its richest possible signal. Second, watch what happens after the stare ends. A healthy baby looks away briefly and then looks back. That is not the baby losing interest. That is the baby processing what they just received before taking in more. Researchers call it gaze aversion. Think of it as their version of pausing mid-thought. It is healthy, normal, and surprisingly sophisticated. Third, if your baby consistently avoids eye contact or stares blankly without any response when you animate your face, no brightening, no smile, no shift at all, mention it to your pediatrician. Not to alarm you. Most of the time it means nothing, but it is worth a conversation. And fourth, the most surprising one. What does it mean when your baby gives that same intense, unblinking stare to a complete stranger? The explanation is one of the most fascinating things in all of infant psychology. When your baby stares at a stranger, completely locked in, unblinking, studying their face with that same deep focus, it is not because they find that person as familiar or as important as you. It is because the brain is doing something even more remarkable. It is building a database. The infant brain is engaged in what researchers call face categorization, the process of mapping the range of human faces, learning what counts as a face, and beginning to build the social recognition systems that will serve them for the rest of their life. Every face your baby stares at in the first months of life is being cataloged. The features, the variations, the emotional expressions. The brain is running comparisons, building templates, calibrating its social recognition software. And the reason babies are so relentless about this, the reason they will stare at a stranger for 20 unblinking seconds while the stranger squirms uncomfortably, is that the window for this kind of neural calibration is narrow. The brain knows it, so it maximizes every opportunity. Here is the insight I want you to take away from this video. That stare, the one that makes you wonder what is going on in there, is not emptiness. It is not zoning out. It is not random. It is your baby at their most cognitively active. It is the closest thing to pure learning that a human being ever does. Every second of that locked, unblinking gaze is your baby's brain constructing itself, building the systems for language, for emotion, for social connection, for understanding the world and the people in it. They are not staring into nothing. They are staring into everything. The next time your baby locks eyes with you at 2 in the morning or across the room or mid-feed and holds that gaze without blinking, you'll know what is actually happening. A brain actively building itself, a nervous system reaching out to synchronize with yours, a small human doing the most important work they will ever do with the only tools they have, their eyes, wide open, looking for you. Hold the gaze back, respond with your face, talk to them. Let it last a beat longer than feels comfortable. Because in that moment, you are not just a parent looking at a baby. You are a brain that is helping another brain build itself. And there is nothing more profound than that. If this changed how you see your baby, share it with a parent who needs to hear it. And if you want to go deeper into what is really happening inside the infant mind, there is a lot more waiting for you on this channel. If this video made you see your baby differently, if it turned that quiet, unblinking stare into something you'll never take for granted again, share it with a new parent.